Hey everyone, it's Lazy Fit Gamer, and I did it. I did the crazy fasting experiment, 80 hours. I did it last week. Then now I have full results, and a lot of them really surprising. There is some really fun stuff going on. As you know, as much as I like learning about stuff, reading, listening, what other people have to say, I usually need to test it on myself. And even though I am fully aware that my experience will be different than someone else who will do exactly the same thing, there are things that will be the same or at least similar. But what I did, basically I was watching a lot about fasting and possible benefits of fasting. And most of those videos were like combination of fasting videos with advertisement of some minerals, salts that you can drink. And usually there was one message going over like, you need to replenish your minerals, you need to replenish salt during the fast, otherwise you will get cramps, so on. And even worse, if you will be drinking coffee. And it was like a challenge for me. I was like, okay, hold my beer. I will be drinking only coffee and I will not take any supplements. Nothing at all. That was the idea. At 80 hours fast. On top of that, because as you know, if you watch my other video, I'm fully into our body being smart and not dumb. Therefore, I was like, what I do as well, I will use it as kind of adaptation for like a bad times. If fallout will happen in real life, I want to be ready if there will be no food or something. Therefore, I will not reduce my activity, but go the other way around. I will slightly increase my activity during the fast, drinking coffee, not eating anything, and we'll see how this will happen. And I did that. And first, maybe I show you what's the most interesting for people. The weight changes and my calorie intake. I decided to measure it, everything, and I overlay it both on one graph. Therefore, the calorie intake going up to 6,000, and I added as well my body weight going from 182 to 192 on top, like from 182, 192. I hope it's clear. I wanted to put it both on one as it's easier to understand. Then as you can see, obviously the weight is widely fluctuating. That's actually normal. Even though you have similar food input, calorie intake, let's say, and I always check my weight at the morning, then it's always the same. Empty stomach, everything at the morning, but still the weight fluctuates quite widely. And the peak was when there was really hot outside. Somehow I think when it's really hot outside, really summer weather, your body is heavier. Most likely more water. And then the fast started. The first is going up because the weight is first, then there is no food. Then this weight point was when I was starting. And at the start, here is a little bit more calories as I had a pizza before I started the fast. And you can see how fast weight went down, but then on the last day, it's only a little bit. And there is explanation for that. Based on my research, most of the weight that going down quite quickly is glycogen. And if you don't know what glycogen is, it's something similar to what potato is using to store energy. Like in case of potato is starch, in case of humans is glycogen. What is the same between both? Glycogen we do not store dry, we store it wet, therefore it's about 1 calorie per gram or even less. Therefore, all my glycogen storage based on my weight and size I can estimate will be around 5 pounds and about 2,000 calories. Then that burns first, then fat. And fat is very efficient. Like you lose a little bit of weight to get a lot of energy when it's just fat that is being consumed. And after this point, you can see what happened. I was eating way more as I'm more hungry, and I'm basically eating ad libidum. Therefore, when I'm hungry, I'm eating. I do not restrict my calories post-fast, but I'm not actually getting any fatter, what is good. It seems like some of the results are quite persistent, but let's go back how my fast actually went. And what interesting I found out as well, apart from the weight, what I was doing, I was measuring, as I always do, skin fold on my belly, like how much fat is there. Usually I do it like 1 inch from the belly button, then always the same spot, and I measure with this. It's very simple, just catch your fat on your belly and measure it. And before I started fast, it was stable on 14 millimeter for quite a while. And when I finished fast, it dropped by just 1 millimeter to 13. And that's a skin fold. Therefore, my fat layer on my belly was reduced by half of a millimeter. It's really not as much as you would expect, as my total calorie expenditure during those 80 hours was almost 10,000 calories used and zero provided. Then, yeah, that's how efficient our fat storage is. Estimating how much fat I have left in my body, not like calling myself fat, but generally how much is left, I could probably go without food for 40 or 50 days and survive just fine. Then that's crazy how much storage you have. But how the fast went. First, after I ate pizza, of course, I was full. 8 hours later, I went sleep. That was all fine. I wake up. I had my coffee. And yeah, that was the point when normally when I wake up, I'm hungry and I usually eat. But this time I had only coffee. And interesting effect here. If you eat nothing, but you still have a coffee, it does provide you energy, but it's a little bit different than normally. Like I would call it, to sound nice, seek and devour mode. That's how it works. You get energy, but you are energized to find some food, something to eat. And if you don't do that, but you use this energy, then you are moving, you are active, you stay in this mode for most of the time. Every time you drink coffee, that's what was going on. And whenever I was feeling hungry, I was drinking coffee, approximately 3 to 4 large coffees per day. And yes, it was quite a lot of water in this coffee. I wasn't doing espresso or anything like that. No, not super concentrated. It was coffee with lots of water in it. Slightly more diluted than I usually drink. Dehydration wasn't the goal of this fast, obviously. Then that was that. And then, first super interesting thing that happened, apart from seek and devour mode, I went for a walk. After over 36 hours of fasting, I decided to see how is my body performance when it comes to walking, as I like walking and I have comparison. I know how the walking looks like, and I went for a walk. And here you can see my walk statistic on the left. That's the fastest one. I end up walking 19 clicks and I did just fine. I keep my average pace about the same as always. I was able to do it without any more, like I was a little bit hungry, but it stopped when I walked more. Then performance stayed about the same. There was no muscle cramps, even though I'm drinking so much coffee and not providing any salts, any minerals, nothing like that. No muscle cramps. That was another surprise. I prove all those YouTube videos wrong. You don't need minerals. And look at that. Average heart rate, 88. To keep the speed, to maintain the speed under 10 minutes per click, 88 is super low bitrate. Comparing this to like other walk that I have in my data, that was shorter one, 13 kilometers, similar pace, but fed, not during any type of a fast, the same route as well, 105 beats per minute, almost 20 higher average heart rate. And I was doing some investigation after the fact to figure out what could have caused that. And the conclusion is that burning fat requires way less oxygen than burning carbohydrates. Therefore, even though the maximum power output on fat alone is lower, the oxygen requirement is much lower too, and your heart do not need to work so hard in order to provide enough oxygen to your leg to keep walking. Then that was new. That was a surprising discovery, and the fact that I was able to do 19 clicks and I wasn't exhausted at all at this point. I could have been walking, but there was time to go to work then. I couldn't extend that to see if I will like give up at some point. And I didn't want to actually give up, but yeah, after that I went to work. I was a little bit tired at work, I will be honest, after this walk. But I would probably be a little bit tired even if this walk would be without fasting. Definitely my appetite was up after the walk, but I was at work, therefore safe, and nothing like there are some vending machines, but I stay away from those. I maintained my fasting. I had another coffee. I took a thermos with a coffee to have at work. Then more coffee, more coffee. After that, I went sleep, and this night was a little bit different. I slept like 5 hours. I wake up. I wasn't sleepy anymore at all. I think the seek and devour mode continued, and my body just wanted to carry on. It was like, hey, turtle, you need to get up. You need to find some food. Go and find it. And yeah, of course, I had another coffee when I wake up, and I continue with those coffees. And then I went to work again. And I would say that later on, when I was like 60 hours into the fast, it changed a little bit. I stopped being as hungry. It was less hunger, definitely way easier to control, up to the point that I was able to normally go with my little one to the McDonald's when she was having a meal and ice cream, and I was having black coffee. And I was able to just sit there, and I was just fine. No, I don't want your fries, thank you. that was really interesting. At 60 hours mark, that I was able to survive way better. Unfortunately, my sleep was still 5 hours. The last night on the fast, still 5 hours. Wake up, not sleepy at all. But I know that I should sleep more, but in this like fasting mode, I was not able to. 5 hours was done. I was ready to go again. But this time it was finishing, like almost finish line for my fast. Then I started preparing my meal to conclude the fast. And yeah, when I started making food, I was getting more and more hungry. But I maybe that was because I already saw the finish line. That could affect me. I don't know exactly, but that could have been the case. That finish line was there and I was getting more hungry. Even though from 60 to 80 hours, most of this way, it was easy, relatively easy compared. I would not lie. It's not like I was not hungry at all, but way less than previous hours. Then that's interesting. And yeah, I was monitoring my strength and everything else. I continue with my exercises, you know, the strategy, single exercises spread around over the day, push-ups, pull-ups, stuff like that. The strength remained the same during the fast. The difference was in my total power output. Like I couldn't when it goes to exercises requires a lot of power for a longer period of time, let's say 50 push-ups, I was not able to do that. As basically I was getting tired before my muscle gave up. Then that was the case. I was getting tired. And I have picture updates. I have picture updates for you too. How my body changed. Not as much as you would expect probably. That's the update. Before the fast, around 190 pounds of weight just before starting the fast. Then just after I finish the fast and I lose a little tiny bit of body fat. Not as much as I would expect. Maybe 2 pounds. 183 pounds of weight though, as I lost all the glycogen that was stored in my muscle. And 5 days after the fast, with the refeed, I was eating as much as I wanted, as you were able to see on the graph. I don't know. You will need to tell me. I don't see much of a difference. I think it's slightly visible that post the fast, maybe there is tiny bit less of the fat of my belly. I'm not clear about that, but as well, I'm not concerned with it at all. I think my level of body fat is acceptable at this point. And it wasn't the fast to actually get me slimmer. It was like the fast to have another experience and see what will happen, how it will affect me, and is it good, is it bad? Like, definitely cool experience. I would most likely repeat it in the future, as I'm interested if I can like improve, if my performance will be the same, will it change? Oh, and I test my strength after the fast. 2 days after the fast, I visited a friend and we did some exercises together, some strength exercises, and my performance was the same, if not slightly better than 2 weeks earlier when I was visiting him last time. Then no loss in strength at all. Most likely because I stayed active and I was doing exercises without eating anything, but that's another proof that you don't actually need to eat all the time in order to build muscle and maintain your muscle. Your body is so smart that even if I had nothing to eat for 80 hours, I was eating after the fact. No muscle loss, no strength loss, nothing. And probably my performance, if I somewhere in the future repeat the fast, maybe it will be better. Like, my hope is that my body will be able to be more flexible with using my stored fat. I would like to achieve that, like survival preparedness. If in the future I will need to run away from nuclear fallout, move fast, and there will be no food around, I will be able to do it without giving up. Yeah, I know that's a little bit crazy stuff, but that's how it is, and that's what I like to do. I don't always do the safest things. Like, if you don't know, like, one of the sports I was active in the past, like almost 20 years ago now, was freediving. Definitely not the safest or recommended for everyone. I was into freediving and I was into swimming, like wild swimming during storms. That was another thing that I enjoy a lot. Both not safe, not recommended. Then, yeah, don't try to repeat everything I'm doing at home, but try to learn as much as you can from my experience. That's why I like to share it. And that is everything about my fasting experience. Did you ever try it? Do you think it's worth it? Think it's worth for health? I have no idea. I notice zero health benefits. At least there is no health benefits I can at all recognize in myself after doing that. People usually recommend it for health benefits. I don't know of any from my own experience. Then, this being said, thank you a lot for watching, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye.